There was a girl named Sandra. She was 23, beautiful, tall, and loud. People noticed her wherever she went, and she liked it that way. She lived in Eniola Street, a busy part of town where people talked more than they walked. Sandra liked nice things. She liked people to know she liked nice things. Her dream was simple: to live soft, look rich, and never be embarrassed in public. But there was one strange thing about Sandra. She said she would never date any man who didn't use an iPhone. Not just an iPhone, no, but the latest one. Her friends laughed about it at first. They thought she was joking, but time proved she wasn't. Whenever a man tried to talk to her, the first thing she would notice wasn't his smile or his words. It was his phone. If it wasn't an iPhone, she would find an excuse and leave. Sandra had a small group of friends: Titi, Mary, and Anita. They all worked at a fashion store in town. During lunch, they often gossiped about men and money. Sandra would say, "If a man cannot afford an iPhone, how can he take care of me?" Her friends would laugh, but deep down, some of them started to believe her. She made it sound like owning an iPhone was the same as being successful. Sandra once broke up with a guy named Kelvin because he had a Samsung. Kelvin was kind, gentle, and worked hard. He had plans to buy a car and start a business. But none of that mattered to Sandra. He didn't have an iPhone. When Kelvin tried to explain, she told him, "You can't love me if you don't even love yourself enough to buy quality." That night, Kelvin cried in his room. He deleted her number and promised himself never to beg for love again. Sandra moved on like nothing happened. One day, Sandra met Tony. Tony was tall, fine, and spoke with confidence. He had an iPhone 15 Pro Max and drove a red car. Sandra didn't even ask what he did for a living. She just saw the phone and the car, and that was enough. Tony liked how Sandra admired him. He liked being the center of attention. So he started showing off: new shoes, designer shirts, wristwatches. Sandra was convinced she had found the one. She started posting him online, showing their dinner dates, their trips, and their matching outfits. People in her neighborhood started calling her Madam iPhone. But what she didn't know was that Tony's life wasn't as sweet as it looked. He was living off borrowed money. The car wasn't even his. It belonged to a cousin who was abroad. The phone was on credit. Still, Sandra didn't care. She felt loved and admired, and that was all that mattered. 2 months later, Tony's life started to fall apart. His cousin wanted his car back. His business deal failed. He could no longer maintain the lifestyle Sandra loved. Then one night, he came to see her looking sad. He tried to explain what had happened and told her he might have to sell his phone to pay off some debt. Sandra stared at him like he had said something dirty. "Sell your phone? Tony, please don't embarrass me." He tried to hold her, but she pulled away. "So what will I tell people? That my boyfriend uses a cheap phone now?" Tony couldn't believe what he was hearing. He stood up quietly and left her room. She didn't even call him. A few weeks later, Sandra met another man, Daniel. Daniel had an iPhone 17 Pro Max, shining cosmic orange, and always dressed in an expensive clothes. Sandra's heart raised when she saw him. He looked rich, he smelled rich, he was everything she dreamed of. Daniel told her he was a businessman. He didn't say what kind of business, and Sandra didn't care to ask. He took her out often, bought her wigs and shoes, and even sent her money every weekend. Sandra thought she had finally arrived. She even bragged to her friends, "When you aim high, you meet high people." But deep down, Daniel had his own secrets. Daniel wasn't a businessman. He was a scammer. He used fake websites and stolen cards to make money. And the iPhone Sandra loved so much, it wasn't even his. It was one of the phones he used for fraud. He liked Sandra because she didn't ask questions. She just wanted luxury, and he wanted someone who wouldn't talk much. Weeks turned into months. Sandra started noticing strange things. Daniel would leave suddenly in the middle of the night. He would get angry when she tried to touch his phone. He never took her to his house, always hotels. Still, she told herself, as long as this money keeps coming, I am happy. One morning, police officers raided Daniel's hotel room. He was caught with laptops, stolen IDs, and multiple iPhones. Sandra was there with him. They took both of them away. At the station, Sandra cried and tried to explain she didn't know anything, but no one believed her. Her name and photo appeared online with headlines: iPhone girl arrested with fraud suspect. Her friends laughed behind her back. Her job fired her. Her parents stopped picking her calls out of shame. After some weeks, Daniel's case grew worse. He was sent to prison. Sandra was released when it became clear she had no hand in the crime. But life was never the same again. No one wanted to associate with her. People whispered when she walked by. Her once bright Instagram account went silent. She deleted all her old pictures, the dinners, the trips, the selfies with Daniel. Everything was gone. She got a small phone and started working at a roadside food store just to survive. Sometimes she would see other girls walking by with new iPhones, laughing and taking selfies. She would turn away and wipe her tears. Months later, Sandra saw Kelvin, the same guy she had dumped for using Samsung. He now had his own business, a car, and was engaged. He greeted her politely, but she could tell he had moved on. That night, she cried in bed. She remembered how she once looked down on him just because of a phone. Sandra finally understood. It was never about the iPhone. It was about character, kindness, and contentment. She whispered to herself, I chased the glow and lost my own light. A year passed. Sandra started saving money and learning tailoring. She stopped comparing her life to others. Her new phone was cheap but useful. One day, she met a quiet man named Michael at the market. He didn't have an iPhone. He didn't even wear fancy clothes, but he respected her story and treated her with care. Sandra tried to fight her feelings at first, but his calm spirit broke her walls. Months later, she realized she didn't need shiny things to feel special. She only needed peace. 2 years later, Sandra opened her own small fashion shop. She smiled when she saw her reflection in the mirror. Older, humbler, but happier. One of her customers once said jokingly, Auntie Sandra, I bet your man uses iPhone 20 by now. Sandra laughed and replied, No dear, he uses love. It never goes out of date. People laughed at Sandra. Some even make jokes about her story. But deep inside, she became proof that chasing status without sense leads to pain. The phone she worshipped brought her disgrace, and the people she ignored found peace without her. Because in the end, true connection doesn't need an iPhone, it just needs a heart.